My name is Carly DeBruzzo. I'm 25 years old. I'm a chef, and I really love that cooking can bring people together, and it's a great creative outlet. But it's hard for me to stand up and cook at home because after 15, 20 minutes, it feels like there's thousands of pins inside of my foot poking out all at the same time. I don't have most of those toes on the front of my foot. I just have my big toe. So when I look at my foot, I see something that I think is ugly. I was diagnosed with Proteus syndrome when I was around a year old. Proteus is having accelerated or strange growth. So they diagnosed it on the criteria of the kind of tumors that I was growing and the abnormal bone growth that I was having. I call this the shelf. It's on the bottom of my foot, and it's this big fat pad, and you can lift it up and see like ½ an inch under it. And that's like where the arch of my foot should be, but it's just full of jelly, the jelly shelf. I've had over 10 surgeries. My first one was when I was 9 months old. The doctors always said when I was growing up that once like puberty and stuff was done, that the tumors would stop growing and everything would be okay. But they're still growing.
Since I started training to be a doctor, easily the quarantine was the longest time. I didn't operate, I didn't treat patients in an office, so that was crazy.
I have an extremely challenging case coming up. I met Carly for the first time over a computer screen.
Proteus syndrome, it's very rare.
I was born with this problem, so I don't know what it's like to have normal and pain-free feet.
Proteus syndrome is basically elephant man disease. The skin and the limbs can grow out of proportion and really grow in different directions, making every movement painful. I have seen this condition before. His name was Jeffrey Ortega. For his case, there was no surgical option that I could personally recommend. Proteus syndrome is actually so rare that only a few people in the world have it. So to me, I'm kind of thinking maybe it's macrodactyly, which is, the enlargement of possibly just one toe. But right now, this foot is a mystery to me. Hey, Carly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to meet
buddy?
you in person.
I know, finally. How you doing, buddy? My name is Dr. Schaefer.
Mike.
Nice to meet you, Mike. I've been excited to see you. Honestly, my heart completely went out for you, and that's why I want to help you.
That would be great.
Right? Now, Proteus syndrome is so rare, right? So I'm interested on who diagnosed you with that, and why do you and the doctor think that it was or is Proteus syndrome?
I know it happened when I was really little, like
Right.
before I could talk, and it's because I started growing the lipomas, and it also affected the bone growth in my foot.
Why did they start amputating part of the foot?
So like my first operation, I was 9 months old.
Sure.
They took these 2 toes off because they were fused together,
Okay.
and they were as long as my baby foot was already. Yeah, so they took those off.
That's rough. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's where I come in. That's why I want to make life pleasant again, right? So I'm examining Carly's foot, and it looks like a form of macrodactyly, which would be just a really large toe. But when I'm really feeling around, her foot is very squishy. There's clearly some tumor-type formation going on inside there. So there's definitely something different going on right now. All right, so I really just want to get a good idea of how you walk so I can help alleviate that pain that you're in. So Carly, if you don't mind, I'm going to have you walk down the hallway. I'm going to take a look.
Okay.
Okay, and if you could just walk right down the hall for me. Yep, you're doing great. There you go. Yeah, you're walking all on the outside of your foot. Watching Carly walk, it looks very painful because she has that mass basically all over her arch. Carly's big toe should have been a stabilizing factor while she's walking, but it's not doing anything right now. You can see that one of her calves and thighs is larger than the other. And, to me, that's signifying that there's possibly tumors in there, which would lead me to believe it's Proteus syndrome. There's a lot going on with your foot. I would tend to agree. It's definitely a form of Proteus syndrome, and it can be very hard to treat. And sometimes you do go down that rabbit hole by, doing amputations and removal of, soft tissue and all of these things. So, if you look here, like we were saying, this big toe, it's aligned, you can see all the bone formations. And then when you had your surgeries in the past on 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, your fourth and your fifth, which are on the outside, they had the amputation of the toes, and these second and third metatarsals, they're fused together. That is part of what happens during Proteus syndrome. Bones can fuse, when they're amputated, they can grow more jagged, and then soft tissue grows. Proteus syndrome can be extremely debilitating.
I think that's part of why I've had over 10 surgeries.
Carly's been through so many surgeries before, and nothing has taken care of it. It's always just been, chasing that mass where they can sometimes just take one toe or two toes, a chunk of the mass here, a chunk of the mass there. Nothing has worked. And in her case, if you're just debulking it, it's just going to grow back and become more painful. Considering everything that I'm seeing, I feel that there's a surgical option for her, but Proteus syndrome is something you always have to be very cautious about. What I need to do is remove the whole mass so it doesn't grow back and become more painful. What my plan is, Carly, is to do a transmetatarsal amputation, and that is an amputation of the front of the foot.
That sounds aggressive.
Sounds aggressive, but this mass here and this big toe is what's really throwing your balance off, and it's making you miserable.
I'm at the point where I need an actual solution because I'm very, very tired of feeling like this every day, and I don't want to live my life like this.
So I just know that this is right, and I know this is going to make you happy, and that's the only thing that I care about.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do incision on the top of the foot, and then we'll remove the big toe area, and then we'll saw through each one of the bones. Then we're gonna flap this up, okay?
Okay.
So this fat pad here is gonna be shifted up, right?
Okay. I don't care if it looks pretty. I care if I can walk and if it's comfortable or not.
Right. My goal is to make this functional, and my goal is to make this the last surgery that you have to deal with. How do you feel about that, Carly?
I feel like I can give it one last, good try.
Good. I'll see you the day of surgery.
Okay.
It's nice to be able to give her a surgical solution, but the last thing I want to do is have to redo this surgery. So I have to really be precise and get that whole mass out so it doesn't grow back in the future.